Allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is Ho, H to the OV.
Hi everybody and welcome to SA Rugby Magazine, where we're going to chat about the Bulls versus Glasgow Warriors. I've got an esteemed guest here, flew him over from Wales. Spiritual home is Cape Town, and Scott Gibbs, legend. We got Mark Keohane, also a legend in his own right. Certainly one of the more articulate guys on rugby. And I've got Zellum Nell, the infamous.
Nothing to say.
Yeah, nothing to say. Interesting final. We've got a team. South Africa have been in the final three, and I do think personally that they're going to win this one, so they'll make it 2 out of 3. It should have been 3 out of 3 if Monty Lebok hadn't had a brain fart at the end of last year. Quite dominance from South Africa. What do you make of the final coming up, Scott?
Well, the news from the north is great, is encouraging, given that all 5 countries had representation in the playoff run. I think both semi-finals were epic and quality performances on show, and obviously the results laid bare that the Bulls go up against the Glasgow Warriors. Now, if you cast your mind back to round 16, what an epic encounter that was when Glasgow turned up at Pretoria and
40-34, I think.
Yeah, so both top 4 sides finished with 13 wins out of 18 games. This is a great matchup. Glasgow Warriors top the charts in defenders beaten and clean breaks, so they have the ability to unpick any defence. Last week's game, the métier from the Bulls was the defence got them through that game.
Yeah.
And
were you surprised by that game?
I wasn't surprised. I was surprised only in the fact that I think Leinster, out of any of the teams, managed their player load better than anyone else in domestic rugby. But that's become their Achilles heel, I think, because you would expect that with that player management and the load being managed, that you'd see a lot more fizz and physicality last weekend, which I didn't see in the Leinster makeup. Yeah. That said, if you look at the way that Leinster play and Ireland play effectively, it takes a lot of energy to keep repatriating these pods of 4. It takes an enormous amount of energy, and I think at altitude you have to simplify your application to the game and play territory and play the clock and be better game managers, and I think that was their undoing last weekend.
Yeah. I mean, if I look at that game, what surprised me...
Because you, Mark, sorry, had told me, and I'm glad I didn't take the tip, but I thought that Leinster had everything set up to. They were big favourites, 6.5 point away favourites, and I thought they'd win by 10. You thought they'd win by a lot more.
I thought they would win by anything between 15 and 20. Just looking at the quality of the two teams, Billy LaRue's going to potentially play against, if he's fit, he's going to play against Ireland in the series. There may not be another Bulls player in that match 23. A Van Staden or a Hanekom may come in. 18 of that Leinster side are current internationals. Jamie Osborne, uncapped, he's on this tour now, the midfielder, and then you had Alatoa, who plays for Samoa. So there's one out of that 23 that hasn't played Test rugby in the last year. Yeah. That side should have go anywhere and win it. What was very interesting for me was the discussion that's come out post the match is Jacques Nienaber's influence, because he's come with a very defence-orientated mindset, and there's this belief he's changing the way Leinster play, and that there's a bit of confusion between their attack and their free-flowing attack and the defence, which he has said is nonsense as well. He's adding something with never taking away from anything. But I'm
not so sure there could be a Trojan horse there.
Look, we have the greatest conspiracy theory of Rassie sent him over there for 3 years because his contract expires a month before the 27 World Cup and he's back as a consultant. So we can't beat you at the World Cup, but we're going to destroy you in the 3 years between World Cups. So I agree totally with what you said there, Scott, in terms of their player management, and then the fact that they put so much emphasis in Champions Cup.
Yeah.
The fact that Ireland basically, it's determined by the national side how many games you play, when you play. But where I felt they got it particularly wrong this year was when they came to South Africa and they had to play the Lions and the Stormers. They left 18 players back in Dublin who were going to play in the Champions Cup in a fortnight's time. Took 2 big beatings here, didn't get a point out of the tour, and that was the difference between coming first and coming third. And then they would be hosting. And then no one would have beaten them in Dublin, I doubt, in a semi-final or a final.
No.
So they've also become spoilt with being able to win the Pro 14, picking regardless. So it doesn't matter who they wanted to pick. And for the first time, they've been challenged. They've now gone 3 Champions Cup finals. They've lost, and they haven't made the final of the URC in 3 successive seasons, which I think is fantastic for the URC, and it's also fantastic that they had to pick 18 test players to come to Loftus to beat the Bulls and still failed. Yeah. So what surprised me about that Bulls game was that it's probably the most intelligent rugby performance I've seen from Jake White's Bulls since he's taken over, and Gerson and Willie Leroux's unpicking of that Leinster defence and the way they played the 50-22s, the short kicks, the cross kicks, and the way they kicked deep in that first 20 minutes to constantly run Leinster back. They managed their own pace at altitude, which is one thing they haven't done all season. They've blown out in the last 20 minutes of a lot of games.
Yeah, and if you look at the game, the 40-34 game, I think, we were chatting just off air that, what was the score of Zels at 62 minutes?
Yeah, 37-10.
37-10 for the Bulls. And 23 points were scored quick by Glasgow. Do you see that happening again? I mean, the Achilles heel of the Bulls has been the last 20 minutes of a game, which is ironic considering it's at altitude. The weather this weekend is, we just checked, is 23 degrees, perfect rugby conditions. So it's got it's set up for potentially a high-scoring game, but finals usually don't come out that way. How do you see it playing out?
I think a lot of it depends on whether Willie Leroux plays. I think he was central to the plan against Leinster.
Yeah.
And I think, talking to Scott's point there, Leinster would have done a lot of prep, and their whole attack is built around their set phase strike moves and their continuity and the momentum that they gain from those things. So I think when they started receiving a lot of ball in unstructured attacking situations where it was a cross kick and they were having to clean up, and then as soon as they covered that, it was deep kicks and forcing 50-22s and that sort of thing. I think it created a lot of confusion and probably things that they hadn't worked on in training. And I think if Willie Leroux is able to replicate that kind of performance against Glasgow, I think obviously that helps a big time for the Bulls. But Glasgow is a different team, coached by Franco Smith, the former Cheetahs coach. And
kudos to him, he's had a good season.
He's had a great season, yeah. And I think if you look at that late flurry that they performed the last time at Loftus, that kind of speaks to Cheetahs rugby. So a lot of it will be around whether the Bulls take the bait and try and go toe-to-toe with Glasgow. Yeah. In which case, the Bulls have been inconsistent this season. Fantastic last performance. But I think
probably the best that they've played this year.
But Mark,
it's an interesting facet, Zelly, because rugby's all about consistency.
Yeah.
Methodology, following systems, being instinctive. All of the silos of rugby that most rugby supporters don't really care too much, but you've got to give it some onus. Willie Leroux, you said, took a big knock last weekend. Whether that's a HIA issue and or a neck injury with the upcoming tests. So again, you kind of think maybe that he might want to step out of this, and then that leaves a little void in the actual determination of the Bulls' directional play. Consistency, you mentioned. Listen, they got up for last week's game. Jake said this was one of the most impressive performances they've seen at Loftus in a long time. Finals are all about playing the moment and also temperament. So if they can get anywhere near to replicating last weekend's energy and efficiency and effectiveness, at counter-attack and in defence, then they stand a great chance. But this Glasgow Warriors side, there's no, the anomalies is that they have just been relentless in their ability to turn up and show up at big moments and take big scalps. Isn't that what playoff football and going on a nice hot streak run is all about?
Yeah,
I would say yes, Scott, but the thing with Glasgow is their 5 losses all away from home. I think it was Munster, Connacht, Lions, and Bulls on the high fault. So them away from home, and specifically the high faults, as much as they've put good performances together, they haven't been able to close them out. So there's quite a big grey area over this one.
What impressed me about them last week was a couple of tries out of nowhere. They were manufactured out of non-threatening positions, you know, and maybe that does speak to Franco Smith and his approach to the game. But they do, like you said, in terms of the way they spread it wide. And will the Bulls get sucked into that game? It's a tough game to call. I think the bookies are around 9.5. That's the spread in favor of the Bulls. I think that's pretty generous for a final, any
Agreed.
final. 46.5 is the points total. And when you look at 74 points being scored in the last game, that offers some value as well. To me, it's not straightforward as saying the Bulls are going to win this game easily.
I think, Kevin, that if Leroux isn't playing, it does leave a little void. Just because of the quality of the individual, certainly, and the way that he's, you know, even from the back, you know, his vision, his ability to see things in the backfield, in the secondary that nobody else can, because it can't always rely on the first receiver person. So there's added pressure in where do you find territory. Because if you can't find go-forward ball and you're in a bit of a slump for 10 minutes because you just get knocked back and you need to settle the game down, that's where Houston can step back in the pocket and just find the corners, let the forwards try and retain momentum and get a stranglehold on the game. But the fact is that I think the Warriors are far more utilitarian.
Yeah.
You know, they've just got this, you know, they got this something about them that they can just find space, because I think instinctively some of those backs to Tutulopa and Cancellieri, they just have this ability to turn the game on a dime. And how do you suppress that? You know, yes, it's got to be relentless for an hour and just kind of, you know, take the wind out of them. But isn't this like the ingredients of what a great final should be? Because yes, the last encounter was a high-scoring game. You know, they played catch-up football. They scored some amazing tries. But you know, as we saw in the European Cup final, it's like these big games are won on small margins. They won on turnover. They won on grit, determination, and just going the extra mile. So.
Well, what's Loftus like? You've played at Loftus.
Yeah, I lasted about 12 minutes, came off the bench in '97, and kind of I caught Danny van Schalkwyk with an open hand,
with a Welsh hanky,
and suffered a one-match ban. You know, where I remember Fran Cotton, the team manager, said, "Listen, when we go into the judiciary, do not say a thing. Do not say a thing," because he said, "You were going for the ball, Scott. You were going for the ball." I said, "No, Fran, I was going for his head. I was going for his head." "No, you were going for the ball." "Repeat after me. You were going for the ball." "Yes, sir. I was going for the ball." But it's one of the cathedrals of world rugby. One of the best run organizations, you know, and it's great to see that the Bulls under Jake, with so much impressive young talent on show, and the
ownership as well. I mean, all good organizations start with good ownership, and Patrice Motsepe and
that's it. Yeah,
and Rupert.
You know, and this is a kind of secondary issue, but what I love about when I tune in and watch football from Victoria, everybody's having fun.
Yeah.
You know, and isn't that just a delight? You know, they're immersed and engrossed in the kind of competition that is rugby. But it's you know, the Blue Bulls fans are just unique, aren't they?
They have that
so
keys,
and this word that I've got to adopt and understand over the years, keys. You know, even when you say it, just like it brings the best out of you.
Yeah.
So the fact is that 6 o'clock kickoff, you know, under the lights in beautiful weather, with hopefully like 45,000, maybe more, who knows. You know, really sways it for me that, you know, the Bulls will walk out proud. That jersey will elevate them, you know, and I think under Jake's kind of experience as well about big games are won on small margins, these moments we have to be in every moment, is for me the kind of where it tips the edge that I think the home side will just have a little bit too much on the day, not because of guile, but I just think because of sheer determination for who they're representing.
Well, it gives you a couple of extra paces, doesn't it? That sort of that like you said, a he's.
Yeah, it's, you know, I mean, iconic, you know, this cathedral.
Well, that's a great description, a cathedral.
It is, because, you know, one of the greatest stadia in the world, playing in the big final, is that if you can't get up for that game, if you don't put that Blues jersey on, and I've never, you know, I don't know what it is to feel like to be being a Bulls, while wearing that jersey. That if that doesn't give you 15-20% extra energy, determination for who's represented it before and the future generations coming on, then I don't know what it is about getting up for a final, because this really has the hallmarks of a humdinger, doesn't it?
Yeah. Look, and they have to win this one.
So Scott, sorry, can I get a prediction?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm gonna go for the Bulls. I think they're gonna be made to feel uncomfortable, because this is a very all-court, streetwise, scrappy team. You know, the Warriors. So and they're not coming down here for shits and giggles. And you can, you know, yes, they've had to travel again. This kind of issue that we have with the URC. They travel in different various groups and that, but their rugby manager made sure that they stayed in the same hotel, they got the same training facilities, they know the drill, they know it's going to be uncomfortable at altitude, and they're going to walk into this kind of iconic stadium, you know, classically underdogs, and every moment is going to be booed. So I just think the momentum and the shift and the pace of where the URC is going, where it is now and where it's going, is heavily swayed to a Bulls victory. Yeah.
Score?
Well, I think I'm gonna go, you know, 35-25 to the Bulls, because I think there's going to be plenty of scoring opportunities, because both sides are just, you know, whilst they both can be destructive, they're very attractive, they're very effective when they get good go forward ball. So I think, you know, it'll be relatively high scoring in that perspective.
Yeah, so if you take the Bulls quarterfinal against Benetton, you take the semi-final, two different performances. At one stage, they looked like they could lose to Benetton. Two different crowds as well. About 15,000 pitched up for that one, 30,000 pitched up, and I'm hearing it's 40,000 plus for this final. You've also got the added incentive of the Irish Test Series. And 4 or 5 of those Bulls stood up against Leinster and said to Rassie Erasmus, I am good enough to play at Test level. If you look at Wilco Lowe as the prop, you look at the back row, look at Willie LaRue, what he did. And Goosen reminded people that behind a dominant pack, he can still play. Mm-hmm. So if there's no cards, as that's always the only time they've lost in the last 23 games against Munster, was very decisive when Goosen was sent off and got the red card. I think it's going to be a hugely exciting, competitive game. But I think once the Bulls pull away, you're going to see Glasgow fall apart like they did at Ellis Park, when the Lions beat them with 14 players, and then altitude really sucked everything out of them. And I've got it to a strong Bulls start, Glasgow to hang in there, and then the Bulls to really come away with it, to win by 25 points.
Give me a score.
45-20.
Okay. So both over. You're both over, going over on the total for sure. Yeah. By a lot, and you're both over on the 9.5. So Zels, I know no conspiracies, no flat Earth, no landing on the moons. Just give me a score.
No Curtly Orenser, no Kane and Moody, and potentially no Willie LaRue. And I think that last one is going to be massively decisive. I think Glasgow come here with no expectation. The bookies are not backing them. I think the final score is going to be 26-19, and I think the team that has 26, if Willie plays, it'll be the Bulls, and if he doesn't, I think it'll be Glasgow.
One last caveat from me, just on Zelly's rhetoric, which is good, is that whilst the Bulls, the Bulls have scored more points, scored more tries, but in the overall log, when you look at the top 4 teams who have won 13 out of 18, they got the 4th best defense. That doesn't necessarily tell me that they're poor in defense, but it takes an enormous effort to replicate the kind of energy that it took last week to keep Leinster quiet. And whether you can get there in the emotion of this cathedral and all the expectation, that is all, like I will say, repetition is perfect, practice makes perfect. Yeah. But it's emotion on Saturday, and it's how you play the big moments. and your composure and understanding in those moments. So that's why there's a caveat emptor, buyer beware, that Glasgow coming here will make a contest of it. There is no doubt, and they won't go away quietly.
No, look, and it's both teams of. I thought that Glasgow looked good in putting away Munster last week, surprisingly so, and same with the Bulls. But the Bulls got up, I think, a bit more for that game because of the 18 internationals that were playing. And I always have an issue backing a team 2 weeks in a row when they've thrown everything at somebody. It's the buyer beware thing that Scott's talking about.
Yeah.
As a pundit and I suppose an expert, no one backs a team that's thrown everything out on the field 2 weeks in a row. But saying that,
Bulls were much better.
no, saying that, I think that Zellum makes a great point with Willie LaRue. If he's playing, I think the margin of victory for the Bulls is going to be comfortable. If he's not playing, then you can toss a coin. So,
Well, LaRue is like a Brady moment.
yeah.
For me, if Tom Brady's on the field, then it definitely shifts it to the attack, because their attack without Willie LaRue
Yeah.
is instantly negated to some degree, just because of the quality and the class that he possesses, and also the vision that he applies.
Who will play in
to
his
the-
place if he's not playing?
Devin Williams.
Yeah.
And how do we rate him?
He's a great player, very underrated,
Yeah.
very underrated player, but not a grizzled
Billy.
veteran Bach.
He's a good individual player. What he doesn't do, because he doesn't have the experience either, is Willie LaRue commands that trio at the back. But where he's so influential, especially when he's back, is giving him good, strong set-piece ball. And from that foundation, is that he comes in at that fluff. Hurston drops back, he comes in. Hurston can kick it 70 metres back at him. LaRue's playmaking abilities are unrivaled. And that cross kick that he does,
It's a luxury.
The
It's a luxury
50-22 is...
that very, very few sides can afford.
But also, I mean,
Anyway.
less than the execution is that Willie is basically a coach on the field.
Yeah, yeah.
And so he can adjust to what's happening
Yeah.
and adjust the team to what's happening live. Whereas Devon, lots of experience because he's not a youngster, but not at the same level as Willie. And I think, sort of big picture, I think Willie would make a huge difference there.
Yeah, I agree. I think I do think the Bulls at home and all the things that Scotty talked about in terms of the blue jersey and the Chies and that experience, that cathedral. It's such a great word, isn't it? Cathedral. And Loftus is one of my favorite stadiums to go and watch a rugby game. It's so intimate. And again, the point of the people there, when you walk to the stadium, it's such a lekker feeling and vibe. So I think the Bulls will win. I do like the 46 over 46 and a half. I think it'll be a high scoring game. I'm going to go 40-28 for the Bulls. And if LaRue plays maybe a little higher, it might be 40-24, 40-23. But I think that they cover the spread, and I'm going against my gut. They're going to cover the spread and win, score combined 47 plus easily.
Now, when you do back a team on that second thing, what do you go for then?
Well, we'll record a video Monday morning.
Glasgow by 10.
We'll record a new video Monday morning and put that one out. Yeah. Folks, thanks for joining. Like and subscribe. Thanks, Scotty. Appreciate it, Mark and Zellum.
Thanks.
Enjoy the weekend of rugby.
Allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is Ho.